Brooks drilled to left field. Is it high enough? See ya! A walk-off grand slam, and the Yankees win.
And he drives one to right field over toward the line. Long run for Laureano, and he home runs it, and the Mets win the ball game.
Episode 54 of The Burrows, an exciting weekend in New York baseball and around the league. My name is Michael Merlo. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening after the fact. If that's what you're doing, we really appreciate the support. Kevin out again today. He'll be back on Friday, most likely doing a Friday episode to get you set for the weekend around New York baseball. Very excited to talk Mets and Yankees, though. We are inching closer to the trade deadline. Yes, the trading deadline. We had the article from Jeff Passan. We sort of brought it up last week. And, I think it's a fun time right now to discuss trades, discuss who could potentially be the biggest names dealt, who are going to be the big sellers. It's going to be another seller's market. It's been a seller's market basically since they expanded the playoffs a couple of years back. So if you're a seller, if you have talent, if you're out of it, it is a good thing to sell that talent off and get some young pieces back. We will see which teams decide to do that and which teams decide to hold on and make a playoff run. We'll get into that in a little bit. I think the Braves are a very interesting question on whether or not they should sell because they have a couple of pieces there that would be incredibly valuable to winning teams. So we'll start with the Yankees today as they lose a series over the weekend to their hated rival Boston Red Sox. They win the first one, let the Red Sox back into the game, and then they lost the last two. And the pitching was not great this weekend. Warren was okay in the win, and then you had Yarborough and Rodon really struggling Saturday and Sunday, and the Red Sox kept pouring it on Sunday, just continued to – they had the 5-run inning, and then they just continued to score as the game went on. Not a good start from Rodon at all. Kind of felt like a big spot as well. You're playing the Red Sox, you're playing your rival, and you're on Sunday Night Baseball in front of the whole world, and the whole world meaning 2 million people, but more of an audience. And you come out there and you're flat. You're not great in that start. You had Hunter Dobbins on the Red Sox side with those idiotic comments before the game saying that if the Yankees were the last team to offer him a contract, he would retire. You know what? What a moron. Why are we giving the Yankees more bulletin board material? I mean, it's already a big game. It's already, a game. It's a rubber match of the series. I mean, please. Why are we giving them more rubber? Why are we giving them more bulletin board material? I don't understand that. But he actually pitched decently well. Outside of the bomb to Judge in the first inning, he actually wasn't that bad. And Jazz did nothing against him as well after Jazz said free smoke at 7. Yeah, that was good, Jazz. But he actually didn't pitch too poorly in the game. And the Yankees just couldn't pitch outside of, a couple innings from Warren there, and they lose the series. And I don't think this is something to overreact to. I didn't see too many overreactions this weekend, early this week. And it's not something I would overreact to, if I'm being completely honest with you. They have been playing so well. They had won 8 of 9 series before that. Now you go to KC and you go up to Boston this weekend. So that'll be interesting to see how they bounce back from this series loss, playing, a team in Kansas City that is fighting for a playoff spot right now in the middle of the race. And then obviously Boston again. But it's not something I would sit here and be totally concerned about if I was a Yankees fan. Would it piss me off? Sure. I don't like losing series to the arch rival who is not playing well. They are such a flawed team. And they finally freaking called up Roman Anthony yesterday, by the way. I mean, Jesus Christ. Finally. After he hits a 497-foot shot Saturday night in AAA, they finally decide to call him up. But either way, it's a team that is not good. They're struggling mightily. They lost an awful game last night to the Tampa Bay Rays at home in the crappy weather, 10-8 and 11. That's a bad team going through it. And we discussed it a couple of weeks back, how bad this team is, how disappointing this Boston Red Sox team is. You don't want to lose a series to that team. You don't. But we're not going to sit here and act like it's the end of the world. Now, I've been going with this take all week, and I don't really think it's like this big thing. But, and I brought it up last week as well when I did a solo show. I am very confident right now, and we're going to do the 5 most likely teams to win the World Series later on. I'll give you a list of 5 teams that I think are the most likely to win the World Series. And today, on June 10th, while I sit here, and I may have done this whole spiel on Friday, but I'm going to do it again. If you put a gun to my head and said you need to pick one team in the American League to get to the World Series and you survive, who would it be? And I would 110% pick the Yankees. I have no doubt in my mind that I would pick the New York Yankees to get back to the World Series this year and represent the American League. That's how I feel today. And is that an indictment on the American League? Is that, just me praising the Yankees for being a good team? I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's an indictment on the American League, and I also think that in a 7-game series against Tariq Schoolball and the Detroit Tigers, I think the Yankees match up well against them and would beat them in 5 or 6 games. As good as the Tigers look, as improved as the Tigers are, I would pick the New York Yankees to win that series in about 5 or 6 games. I'll go 6. And I don't think it's a relatively stressful series. I think it's a stress-free series for the Yankees in the American League Championship Series, okay? But if we're talking about the Yankees winning a World Series, beating that team from the National League, whether it's the Dodgers or the Phillies or the Padres or the Mets, whoever it ends up being, the Cubs, you want to throw them into there. If the Yankees want to win that series in the World Series, then you need to add more at this deadline. The Yankees can stand pat right now. The Yankees could say, we're not adding much. They could add a middle reliever, and they could still most likely get to the World Series in the American League. But you're not going to win the World Series. If they want to win the World Series, they got to go out there and they got to go acquire what we have talked about at length, either a second baseman or a third baseman. Jazz opens up the flexibility that it doesn't just have to be a third baseman. If you can get a second baseman, you can get a second baseman because Jazz is willing to play third base. And he's not too bad at it. He's not a bad third baseman. He's not great, but he's not bad. And he's really adjusting well to the position after not playing there at the major league level until last August. So give him credit for the move. Give him credit for not being bad at it. And now it opens up flexibility for Brian Cashman to say, hey, you know what? We can go to get a second baseman. It's cheaper. It's easier. There's more of them than third base. And you have your third baseman, you can go get a second baseman. The Yankees, if they want to win the World Series, I think they have to make this extra move. Again, they don't have to make a move to win the American League. I really don't think so. And if that sounds like disrespect towards the Detroit Tigers, then so be it. But I've watched this team. I've watched the Tigers. I'm good off the Tigers. Maybe I'm just not a believer. Maybe I am disrespecting. I'm just not a believer in what they can do over a full 162 and then get to the postseason. And I like Schoolball. I love Schoolball. He's the best pitcher in baseball. He should win the American League Cy Young Award. He's the best pitcher in the sport. But the Yankees hit lefties well. And they have a lefty that could sort of match up with them. I think Schoolball's better. But Fried can give you a similar outing. So I really like how the Yankees match up to this team. I don't think they're going to need a starting pitcher. I think they'll have the depth, and I think if they could get Luis Gil back and healthy, then that just adds another middle of the rotation guy here, that plays up, that has the upside to be a number 2 if he's healthy like we saw him last season. If he can come back healthy, that's massive, and there's no rushing him back right now, which you like to see. Probably by the All-Star break, we'll see Luis Gil back. which is always a good thing. Giancarlo Stanton making a return. He will be in Somerset tonight. He will start a rehab assignment. That's from Andy Martino this morning as I woke up and saw that. And now it kind of, you ask the questions, how are they going to play this? I think Rice, we'll see a couple of days off here. I think Goldschmidt will see a couple of days off here, and it'll go like that. They'll work it in. I mean, I don't think they're as stressed out about it as I think some people are. It seems and looks confusing, but you're just going to play Ben Rice and Paul Goldschmidt when you think the matchup works out, and then Stanton's going to DH. But, I mean, I don't think Stanton is going to have to play every day. I don't think he's earned that. As we have some comments, Rodon stinks again. I don't think so. I think Rodon had a bad start. And I've been known to be a Carlos Rodon hater, but I don't think he's I think he's proven me wrong this season. He looks to be back to that form that the Yankees paid him to be. I really do think that I'll take an L. I'm going to take an L on Carlos Rodon. It's a bad start. He had a blow-up start. He has a couple of those. That's it. That's the end of that. I'm not too concerned. Aaron Judge, you know what's funny? Aaron Judge, sometimes he can't catch a break. I'm on Twitter, and it's 11-5 on that Sunday night game. And I actually we had live bet Devers at a home run in the middle of that game. And Devers hits a home run in the ninth inning in a 10-5 game, makes it 11-5. And then Aaron Judge comes up, he hits the homer, and he makes it 11-7. And it's a meaningless home run, right? You're not going to win this game. Although they did almost get the tying runs to the plate. They didn't. And it's kind of a meaningless home run. And Twitter just blows up. X just blows up. Oh, another meaningless home run from Aaron Judge. And it's funny because the weekend prior, he had those two against the Dodgers when they were down 10-0 and 14-2. And it's like, we can't beat the allegations here. A couple of meaningless home runs there. Last few for Judge. Anything else here on the Yankees as we get set to talk about the Mets and then the deadline a little bit more? We'll go to the Mets quickly. Then we'll give you the 5 most likely teams to win the World Series. We're also going to go through the teams that I think could sell and who could have the biggest names. He does have the 1,200 OPS in high leverage situations. I did see this. I wasn't calling him a low leverage merchant. I found it very funny. The Mets had a fun weekend in Colorado. They had a fun weekend in Colorado. Aaron Judge. Pete Alonso, 16 RBIs since June has started. That's kind of insane. That's kind of insane considering you think he had 8 or 9 for the entire month of May. He is 10 home runs away from passing Darryl Strawberry as the all-time leader in home runs for the New York Metropolitans, which is very cool. I've never really gone through something like this. Like, I guess with Alonso breaking 52 rookie home run record, which was a big deal, but it wasn't something where I was sitting there saying, oh my God, I have to get to a game. I have to work my schedule around this. I kind of feel like now with the home run record for the Mets, I mean, it's not a great record, but it's still very cool. I kind of feel like I have to get to the game, have to schedule things around possibly getting to a game where Pete Alonso could break that record. As we have a nice sarcastic comment from Joe here, Mvpete Armstrong. Yeah, I think Pete Alonso, he's not going to win MVP, right? He's not going to win the MVP of the National League. We all know that. It's going to be Ohtani. Lindor's going to have a great case. Kyle Tucker's having a great year. Corbin Carroll's been unbelievable. Pete Crow Armstrong. a little cold right now, but he's been having a great year. He's not going to win the MVP, but he damn well should be considered in the top 5 at least. Potentially in the top 5. He's having that good of a season. He's having that good of a season where he should be considered. He's hitting over 300, which is the most shocking part of all of it. Even the RBIs at the crazy rate that he's going at, the most shocking part of all of this for Pete Alonso is that he's hitting over 300. His OPS is just under 1,000. And I thought that when he started off this season so hot and he had the batting average over 300 and the OPS over 1,000 and he dipped back under that, I was like, he'll never get back there. I was like, he's not going to get back there. But he has. He's gotten back there. And it's so fun to watch. It's incredibly fun to watch as he is just having one of the best walk years from a Met in a very long time. Because it is a walk year. When you can opt out, it's a walk year. And he's been unbelievable. And I think he should start at first base in the All-Star game. If it was played today, I think he should. But it's going to be a nice battle between him and Freddie, and he will get in. He'll get in the All-Star game at least. And maybe he'll do the home run derby. I don't know. And what does a contract look like for him? Like what right now, what does a contract look like for him? I think that he should, at the very least, ask for what Freddie got. Although I think he's going to ask for more probably. And I'm going to just pull up exactly the terms of Freddie's contract and what age he got it at. So Freddie's at 6 years, 162, and he got that at 32 years old. And Pete is 30, and he'll be 31 when he signs the contract, most likely. His birthday's December. So around the same age, about a year off, Freddie got $27 million a year. Would Pete Alonso sign the Freddie Freeman contract? If they went to him and said 6 years, 162, would he sign the Freddie Freeman contract? Gun to my head, no. Gun to my head, I actually don't think he signs that contract. I think it's a good contract for Pete, but I think that would take some convincing. That would take some convincing on Pete's part. I don't know if he would totally accept that contract. But either way, it'll be an interesting offseason, and I don't really want to talk about the offseason right now. But it's definitely a conversation we have to have. Soto, on base 6 times in one game for the first time in his career the other day, on Sunday. Yeah, against the Rockies. Okay, great. It was against the Rockies. You have to beat the bad teams, too. You could be like the Phillies, who got swept by the freaking Pirates in Pittsburgh this weekend. You could be like that. And we got people calling Philadelphia sports radio crying about the Phillies. We could have that, okay? Or you could just beat the hell out of the bad teams and celebrate it a little bit and have some fun. Baseball's 162 games a year, okay? You're going to win around 50 of them, and you're going to lose around 50 of them, and then what do you do with the rest of them? That's how baseball is. And they kick the crap out of these teams. Kick the crap out of these bad teams. Yeah, I'm going to celebrate it for a team that rarely plays up. They usually play down to their opponent. I'm going to celebrate these. Okay, I'm going to have some fun. While they also have one of the best winning percentages in baseball against teams over 500. They've played a lot of teams under 500. They have one of the best winning percentages against teams over 500. So that doesn't concern me at all. They're a very good baseball team. And they're beating the crap out of these bad teams. And that's that. And Lindor, who broke his toe Wednesday night, got hit by a pitch from Tony Gonsolin. He comes on Friday night, pinch hit, doesn't play Thursday, stays in the game Wednesday, doesn't play Thursday, doesn't play Friday, pinch hit, top 9. Mets couldn't get a big hit all night other than Pete with a 2-run double. They can't do anything. There's two guys on, and Lindor rips a double down the line and plates two. Great slide by Pete to plate two. And it's an unbelievable moment. It's one of those games where, Gary Cohen said it and Keith Hernandez said it. It doesn't matter who you're playing at times. You might not be feeling great and you might be in a rut. And they were in a rut for a couple of days there where Thursday's game against the Dodgers, they handed it to them. They couldn't get a big hit with guys on base, and they were doing the same thing Friday night. Couldn't get the big hit with guys on base. And you're playing one of those tough games, but it was very competitive, and it was really good. And they get the win. And it was an impressive win for a team that looked like they were going through it offensively. Diaz came in, got the save. Senga was really good in the game. And that's that. But Lindor gets that big hit with the broken toe. He's clearly uncomfortable. And he gets that big hit. And it's just like, how could somebody be so clutch? It's like, how is this possible that this guy can be this clutch? And I don't know where I saw the take originally, but I believe this take wholeheartedly right now. July 19th, the Mets will retire David Wright's number. They're going to have it's going to be a great day at Citi Field. David Wright's number 5 will go in the rafters forever. Okay. I believe on that day, and again, I forget where I saw the take. It's everywhere now, though, but I forget where I originally saw it before the year. It was definitely before the season started, and I forget where I saw it. But I believe on that day, July 19th, they are going to have David Wright hand the captaincy, whatever you want to call it, over to Francisco Lindor that day. On July 19th, Francisco Lindor will become the captain of the New York Mets. I truly believe that. And he showed it the other night, man. All banged up. The broken toe. He could barely move. He rips a double down the line. Unbelievable. And that's going to be a great day at Citi Field. That's going to be a great day at Citi Field. Mauricio looked good the last 2 days here. Saturday, Sunday hit the bomb of a home run. Friday night, he hit a ball to left center field that went like 419. And it looked like it was gone, and it was a double off the wall. It ended up being, they were playing in the only ballpark in the world that would have kept it in. And it would have been a go-ahead shot. Instead, it was a double. But Mauricio looks like he's getting more comfortable here, back at the major league level for the first time since the end of 2023. And Beatty has cooled off. Beatty has absolutely cooled off, hit the homer on Sunday, but everybody did. Alvarez also hit one. Alvarez has actually statistically had a pretty good June, but he still looks lost at the plate. And again, Beatty has really cooled off. So we'll see what happens with Beatty. Beatty's going to continue to get the time there at third. He's the better defensive player, and Ronnie will play. Ronnie will have opportunities, but eventually, if this trend continues here with Brett Beatty, it's going to have to be Ronnie Mauricio at third. You're going to have to play the hot hand. So we'll see what happens with Brett. It looked like he was really getting going, and now for the last week or so, not so great. I wrote down in my notes here, it's a real shame that Terrence isn't playing more. He deserves it. The outs are loud. He is a better defensive catcher, basically at every level. So, Terrence should play more. I don't know what they're going to do. I think they're going to try and get Alvarez going here as much as they possibly can. I don't know if that's the correct move. I would play your hot hand. I would play the guy that you believe is better, and I think that guy is Terrence. But they're going to play Alvy. They're going to try and get him going. And if I was the Mets, what am I looking at in terms of help at the trade deadline? It's simple. It's very simple. Their only need, in my opinion, right now. I wouldn't go up there. I wouldn't go out and upgrade at center field. I really wouldn't. I think Taylor's fine. I love Tyrone Taylor. I would not go out there and get a center fielder. I don't think third base is going to become a massive need because I think you just have so many options. One of them is going to stick, whether it's Vientos when he comes back from the IL or Mauricio or Beatty. One of those guys is going to stick. McNeil's been swinging a great bat. He's at second. Acuna will go down when Vientos comes back from the injury. He'll go back down to AAA because he just cannot hit. You're not getting a left fielder. You're obviously not getting a right fielder. Your need and your only need at the trading deadline is going to be a middle reliever and a high leverage left-handed pitcher. That's it. Left-handed reliever. That's going to be your two needs. Just get one more bullpen arm. Doesn't have to be a major high leverage guy and a left-handed relief pitcher. That's it. Those are your two needs. Can never have enough bullpen help. Go get some more bullpen help. Shore it up and go on a run there. Manaea should be back in about 3 weeks. Montas on his way back has not looked good in his rehab starts, but I don't think they're overly concerned with that. As long as he comes out of them healthy. Manaea's first one wasn't great either, but you come out of it healthy. Your pitches look good. That's all that matters. So Manaea back soon. Montas back soon, and then you'll have some decisions there in the rotation. I think McGill is the obvious guy, but we have a hot take here before we move on from the Mets. Might be a hot take. None of those options are sticking at third base. I think one of them will. I think one of them will. And I don't know if it's Beatty. As it should. As it should, by the way. High leverage lefty, going to cost a lot. I don't even know who is available, how many of them are available. But as it should cost a lot because that is a massive. You made your move, right? You go and get AJ Minter, and he was great for the first few weeks of the season. It's unfortunate he's out for the rest of the year. You got to go find that AJ Minter replacement. You have to. And I'm not saying it has to be a Tanner Scott move of last season. It doesn't have to be the closer. Just need him to be a late inning guy. That's it. He's not going to close games. Right, and I don't need them, and Brett, I don't need them to go get Tanner Scott. Tanner Scott is not, the level of pitcher I think they need in that bullpen because I think they have enough high leverage guys in Brazoban and Garrett and obviously Diaz as your final three, as your bridge to Diaz. I don't think they need a massive name on the levels of Tanner Scott. They just need a lefty that could get big outs that you could say to yourself, hey, Ohtani's coming up. Let's go get him. Let's go get him. In the National League Championship Series. Bryce Harper in the division rounds coming up. Let's go. I don't have anybody in mind. I really don't. I got to start looking at that. I don't have anybody in mind at the moment on who's going to be available. Because we don't know that yet. We're going to go through some teams now of who will be sellers, who will be buying at this year's deadline. We'll start in the American League. I think Texas has to sell. Texas has to sell. You have too much talent on this team for them to not sell. You're not going to trade DeGrom. You're not. They are so bad offensively. They don't have a single player over a 740 OPS on this team. Not a single guy has an OPS over 740. The highest is Wyatt Langford at 732. Even Seager's dipped down to 700. I know he's been banged up. Simeon's got a 619 OPS. They have nothing offensively to sell. Nothing. But they can sell some pitching, man. You're not going to trade DeGrom because he's just not going to accept the trade. But man, is this staff good. You can get a lot for Tyler Mahle if you wanted. If you want to trade Evaldi, you can get a crap ton for Evaldi. Patrick Corbin's been really good. He's got a 3.52 ERA. Eating innings for them. You could probably trade Patrick Corbin if you wanted to. So if they want to trade some pitching, they could trade some pitching. And that's what I would do. Obviously, pitching is going to be a massive need for everybody as you get closer to the deadline. They should absolutely be selling. The Red Sox, if you could sell some pieces off, sell some pieces off. I mean, who are we gonna sell here? You're not trading Story. You're not trading Bregman. I don't think you're trading Bregman. These rumors with Duran don't make sense to me at all. These trade rumors with Jarren Duran do not make sense. Why would they trade Jarren Duran? Why would they even consider that? He hasn't even had the greatest start to the year. I mean, he's picked it up now. He's been a lot better than his start. But I don't understand why they would trade him. And nothing on the pitching side of things. You're not trading anything here. Walker Buehler stinks. Trade Chapman. Probably get a decent amount for Chapman. Chapman would be a guy for the Mets if they wanted to consider that. I wouldn't hate Chapman. I feel like Chapman needs the 9th, so that's kind of an issue. And I want somebody that can be flexible that can pitch the 7th to the 8th if they need to be. But Chapman would be on the list, I guess. He would have to be. And then there's nobody really else, other teams interesting here that could sell. I mean, the White Sox have nothing to sell. With the Angels have a couple of pieces to sell. And they should obviously sell. Taylor Ward has 18 home runs. He'd be interesting. You're not trading Trout, obviously. Yohan Moncada will 100% be traded. That's a nice piece for the Yankees, I think. I know we've made fun of that, but he's hit. That would be a nice piece for the Yankees there. Nobody really else worth selling. You say Kikuchi, can you move that contract? Tyler Anderson, can you move the contract isn't big. You could probably move Tyler Anderson. He's having a decent season. 3.99 ERA, 70 innings pitched. Can you move Kenley Jansen? He hasn't been great. Can you move him? And obviously the Orioles are going to sell. Who are they going to sell, though? You're going to sell Cedric Mullins. 100%. You're going to sell Cedric Mullins. As you should. Can you sell Tyler O'Neill? Not really. He hasn't hit. Ryan O'Hearn has been great. You could sell Ryan O'Hearn off. And do you sell Eflin off? That'll be the biggest thing. And Seguno, I think, is on a 1-year contract too. So you can sell Seguno off if you really wanted to as well. So there's a couple of pieces you're not going to sell off Felix Bautista. So they have a couple of pieces as well. I think it gets very interesting when you start talking about Mountcastle as well. Mountcastle, yes, they could sell off Mountcastle. I think it's very interesting when you start talking about, but Mountcastle hasn't really done anything. He's hitting 246 with 628 OPS. He hasn't done much. Urias? Would Ramon Urias be of interest to anybody? The National League gets interesting, though. Who's going to sell in the National League? And the one team I think of right now is Atlanta. They're 28-37. They're 13 and a half games out of the National League East. They're about 9 games out of 8.5 games out of a playoff spot. You're right here. Would you sell Murphy off? Sell Sean Murphy off? Probably not. Probably not. They signed him to a 6-year contract. You signed through 2028. Probably not signed. Probably not selling Sean Murphy off. You're not selling Olsen. You're not selling Riley. You're not selling Harris. Ozuna could be sold. Contract runs out. They could absolutely sell off Marcell Ozuna, who's having another really good season offensively, 10 home runs, his 832 OPS. You could sell him off. But the real question is, and this is the biggest question. Would you sell Sale? Would you trade Sale? Because you would get the biggest package of any deal possibly made this deadline if you sold Chris Sale off, because he has a cheap option next year, cheap team option next season. So if you want to reset things and you want to say, hey, we're looking towards next season and we're doing it with a bang for a team that doesn't want to spend money, that is arrogant as ever, that just says, hey, we're good. We develop guys. We don't have to spend money. We're going to sign guys to cheap contract extensions. Whoop-de-freaking do. And they're very good at it, but they weren't good this season. They weren't good this offseason. And you've shown that you don't want to spend too much money on the free agent market when the talent's there. Why don't you go make a big trade? Why don't you go make a big trade for Chris Sale and get some big-time young talent back? And I don't know where he goes. The Cubs are absolutely an option. I think the Cubs would be a perfect fit for Chris Sale. I think the Dodgers, with their injuries, would be a perfect fit. How about that 1-2 of Skubal and Sale in Detroit to go along with Flaherty and Job and Mize? That would be interesting. I don't think the Phillies need him unless Luzardo's not tipping pitches and just stinks. But it's very interesting. It is very, very interesting. It'd be a perfect fit for the Yankees. Brendan says, I don't think so. I don't see that. I think the Yankees have enough pitching with Fried, Rodon, Heel, Schmidt. Royals could be interesting. That'd be a nice top three there. Lugo, Reagans, Sale. I don't know. But he's having a very good season, Sale. He's having a very good season. Obviously, Tampa, Toronto would make sense. They're not going to do it. Would Houston go and do it? They lost Ronel Blanco for the season. I think the Dodgers are interesting. I think the Giants are interesting. But the perfect fit, I think, is the Cubs. The Cubs are the perfect fit. They've lost a couple of pitchers this year. Tyone, Boyd's been very good for them. Shota Imanga, obviously, he's hurt. He was hurt. Is he back? Is Shota Imanga back? No, he's not back. That'd be the perfect fit. That'd be the perfect fit. And the Cubs would make my top 5 list before we get out of here. The Cubs would make my top 5 list of teams that could win the World Series if they made the move. But they're not going to. All right, here's a top 5 of the teams that I think will win that could win the World Series. I'm going back and forth with you know what? I'm going to put the Cubs on. The Cubs are 5 because they're going to get a couple of pitchers back. I think they will be somewhat aggressive here at the deadline to at least do whatever they can to add some pitching. They'll add some depth. And if Sale does become available, I would expect them to be players for him. They do have the prospects to go make the move. I'll put the Cubs at 5 and they have the second best record in the National League. Third best record in all of baseball. I think they'll be somewhat aggressive to sit there and say, hey, you know what? We have a shot at this. We have a shot at this. Let's go trade for some starting pitching. And if Sale becomes available, I think they'll look at it. Number 4, San Diego Padres, tough loss to the Dodgers last night at home. Machado has been unbelievable. He's going to start the game at third base. Jackson Merrill back from injury. He's really great. Fernando Tatis has struggled. He started off the year incredibly hot. He's really cooled off. His OPS has dipped under 800 here. But I love what they do at the top of the rotation here. Pivetta, King, those guys are great in the bullpen. is very solid. And they could be a team. They could be a team potentially for Chris Sale if they have anything left in that farm system there. They could absolutely be a team interested. Dylan Cease has not had a good year at all. But at the top, Pavetta and King, they've been great. And I like that. And I like what they could do offensively as well. I'll put them at 4. At 3 is the Yankees. The Yankees play in the weak American League. We know that. They're going to get back to the World Series. There are 4 NL teams and 1 AL team on this list. And the Yankees are that AL team, most likely to win the World Series. And that's just because I think they have a spot. They have a spot in the World Series. And that's why they're 3. And you see what they do at the deadline, and you'll see if they could take down one of these National League teams. And number 2, I have the Dodgers. I think the Dodgers, obviously, they come into the season as the best team in the sport. But their injuries to the pitching staff, we've talked about it. It's unbelievable how unlucky they've been with these injuries. Offensively, we know how great they are. How many pitchers are they going to get back? Are they going to get back Blake Snell at some point? Will they get back Tyler Glass now at some point? And what are these guys going to look like when you get them back? And they've lost some guys in the bullpen as well. Evan Phillips is not coming back. He was a guy that closed games for them. And Tanner Scott has had an up and down season. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens with this Dodger pitching staff. Do they get healthy? Do they not get healthy? And what do they do at the deadline? Do they go and they make a big move for a Chris Sale? And number 1, I have the Mets. Right now, at this very moment, I feel the most confident in the Mets. They played the Dodgers very tough. They won the season series. The pitching's been really good, and they're going to get a couple of guys back in the near future here. According to Baseball Reference, 98.8% chance to make the postseason, 17.6% chance to win the World Series. As I just see that for the first time. They're a deep lineup. Great top 3. Comparable to the Dodgers. The staff's been really good, and the bullpen has been unfreaking believable. Unbelievable. So the Mets, for me, are 1 on that list. As we get set here for a very interesting week, the Mets have the Nationals and then the Rays over the weekend, the Yankees in KC, and then in Boston. So they're on the road. Mets come back home after a little road trip there, 7-game road trip. It'll be a very interesting week of baseball. Very excited. I'll be at the stadium at least once this week to go catch Mets Nats or Mets Rays. I hope you guys enjoy. Kevin and I will be back Friday, I'm pretty sure. So we'll be back Friday here, most likely at 11 a.m., live on YouTube. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening live. Thank you for listening after. If that's what you do, we really appreciate the support. And we will talk to you guys later in the week.